Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to finally get to my review of the Harbor Freight Chicago Electric Red Design Welding Helmet. So I've owned this thing for about 2 years, I want to say, maybe 2.5, getting closer to 3, somewhere around in there, I don't know off the top of my head. It's the first auto-darkening welding helmet I've ever bought. Overall, I'm just going to say that if you've got a fixed shade helmet and you're thinking about going to auto-darkening, you're a DIY welder kind of guy, don't hesitate to pick this thing up. It's a great welding helmet overall, and I'm really happy with it. There are a few things I want to address, so don't go away quite so soon, but I did want to just throw that out there that I think this is a good welding helmet right off the bat. So there are a few different versions of the cheap auto-darkening welding helmets from Harbor Freight. You have the red design, you have that plain black one, you have the blue design. One of the reasons why I picked this one up, the red design, is because I just thought it was a nice looking welding helmet. It had a nice design to it. It was still pretty plain and simple. I like the colors. I thought it was a good looking welding helmet. So with that being said, we'll just go right to the electronics. I'm very confident that all of the cheap Chicago Electric welding helmets are using the same electronic for their auto darkening system. I think the Vulcans, their higher end stuff's probably using a different piece of technology, but I think for the most part the Chicago Electric are using the same technology. It has two different switches here, two different controls. Hopefully they're within focus, but you have sensitivity and delay. I just always keep it on max on the delay and max on the sensitivity because I want it to come on as fast as it can and be as sensitive as possible so I don't ever get arc flash and hurt my eyes. I have to say it's already like the fixed shade on here. I'd have a real hard time saying, but I want to say it's probably around a 2 or a 3, somewhere around there. It's definitely darker than an average pair of sunglasses. These plastics on the inside are replaceable. You can change them out, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it comes with a couple. If it doesn't, I'm 90% sure that they sell replacements there. So that goes for this as well as the front side. So this welding helmet does run on a 3-volt battery, which is charged by the solar cell here that you can kind of see just above the viewing window. The viewing window itself is about, we'll just call it 4 inches by 2 inches. That's not exact, but it's pretty dang close. And it definitely would be nice if it was a little bit larger, but again, it's totally adequate, especially for the price. A couple of things I don't really love about this welding helmet. The plastic on the viewing window gets covered, especially in flux core welding. That's kind of a duh kind of thing, but it gets really dirty on the inside. So you have to remove it, wipe it off, clean it all off, clean off the solar cell, and clean off the actual electronic viewing window inside, as well as remove the inside plastic, which is kind of covered up by the headgear, but that gets dirty on the inside of it too, so you have to remove that and wipe it off with a cloth and keep it all clean. I don't know if that's any better with higher end welding helmets, but it's definitely something I don't love about this one. Maybe it's just the case all the way across no matter what welding helmet you have, but I'd have to imagine that the more expensive ones are a little bit better sealed up than this. The other thing that I'm not really in love with is the viewing window itself. I've got another cheap welding helmet that I'm going to do a comparison video on with this that has a specific piece of technology that's supposedly a ripoff from kind of like a higher end brand that they've taken the technology and applied it to their cheap welding helmet. On this one, when you're looking through the viewing window, it's just got like a really gray, slightly distorted kind of dirty look. Even when I get this really clean, it just doesn't feel like it's a perfectly clear image that I'm seeing. And maybe that's just because it's just been so dirty for so long and I've never gotten it clean enough. I'm willing to admit that, but the heavy green look on the inside of the welding helmet is something I'm not a very big fan of. And I probably wouldn't have noticed it, except that I've used a welding helmet with a little bit different technology. Doesn't have that problem. It's quite a bit more true, not totally true, but more true to the actual color of what you're looking at. Hopefully you can see it, but it has 2 sensors in here for max sensitivity to detect the arc flash the best it can for being such a cheap welding helmet. So, I mean, I don't really know a whole lot about the technology of these things, but I suppose that's a nice feature. One of the things I really like about this helmet, especially compared to the one that I've been using, is that it has a 13 to 9 selection here on the darkness, and you can go all the way from 9, like I said, to grind, to where you can use this as a grinding shield, which I think is really nice. It has 2 plastic tensioner screws here that you can tighten down the welding helmet. It does have at least 2. I don't think there's an adjustment up here in the front. I don't think that even makes sense, but it's got the adjustment back here and the adjustment here on top for your head. It does include this little cloth here to kind of keep the sweat off your eyes. It's reasonably comfortable. So one of the criticisms of cheap welding helmets that I've seen a lot of is just that you're you're going to burn your eyes out using them, or cheap auto darkening welding helmets specifically. And I just have to say that in my personal experience, that's just not true. Not with this Harbor Freight and not with the Yes Welder either. They both been very responsive, very quick. I've never experienced arc flash, and like I said, just totally adequate. I'm not really the best judge of a good welding helmet. I won't deny that because I don't have a lot of experience with a lot of them, and I've not used the super high-end expensive ones either. But for the most part, no matter what cheap auto darkening welding helmet you go with these days, I think it's going to be a decent welding helmet. So hopefully I touched on everything. There's a lot to these welding helmets, while at the same time very little to them, so hopefully I hit mostly everything. But yeah, overall I think it's a pretty good welding helmet, especially for the money. Thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate you clicking on my video today. I hope you go give me a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed already, go please click subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I hope to see you in the next video.